Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at a rainbow staff. That's right, the Chromatic Ire. The Chromatic Ire is a Cedar staff. It is an exceptional level staff, and it does have a relatively low level requirement, though, of only level 35. And relatively no strength requirement, which is how most staffs work. It is not made for melee damage. It doesn't really have any kind of melee mechanic on it. No enhanced damage, no attack rating. Doesn't even have any lightning damage on it or anything, although it does have some attacker takes damage of lightning damage of 20, which is a little different. It does, however, have +3 to Sorceress skills, which is pretty amazing, and it's a hell of a lot better than the Iron Jangbong, which we took a look at earlier in the videos. That one is only +2, but it does have some nice little bonuses to other skills. However, the Chromatic Ire has +3 Sorceress skill levels, and it also has 20% faster cast, along with a very nice bonus to Cold Mastery, Lightning Mastery, and Fire Mastery, which postures this staff as a pretty good choice for just about any sorceress. If you're a fire sorceress, a lightning sorceress, or a cold sorceress, or if you happen to be a dual spec sorceress, like maybe you're a fire and a lightning, or a fire and a cold, or a cold and a fire, or whatever the hell's going on, you know, you can utilize this relatively well because it gives you basically free cold, lightning, and fire mastery in all 3 element tiers. This also means that in general, as a sorceress, you're going to be able to utilize other abilities that you might not necessarily normally utilize. Because, like, for instance, if I was a cold sorceress, and, let's say I built down to energy shield, so I have points in lightning and chain lightning. I might not necessarily ever use lightning and chain lightning, nor would I ever necessarily put a point into lightning mastery, but if I'm using a staff that literally gives me +4 to lightning mastery, and I already have points into chain lightning and lightning, it might be a very nice secondary use case scenario where I'll get a little bit of love out of the chain lightning or the lightning. Similarly, if I was a fire sorceress, and let's say I had at least 1 point into firewall, I would then also get free level 4 fire mastery, which would beef up the firewall by quite a nice degree, and would make it so that I could use a free firewall every now and then. And this really doesn't have much, end to this. No matter what character you are, free fire, lightning, and cold mastery at level 35, which is literally when you first get them, by the way. And if you guys are unaware of this, when you're level 30, you can only put 1 point into a mastery. When you're level 31, you can put 2 points into a mastery. When you're level 33, you can put 3 points into a mastery. When you're level 34, it's 4, and level 35 is 5, right? So the most number of points that you can have into any mastery at any given point is 5. That's it. So with this staff, you would be looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to any particular mastery, and you would get free level 4 of the other 2. Which means that you would actually get good use out of the masteries for this particular time period because you're at a space where you can't really level up the masteries very high yet. And the highest that you can possibly get them at any given point, as we talked about earlier, is level 5. At level 35, you can have level 5 cold mastery, level 5 lightning mastery, or level 5 fire mastery. So this staff is going to give a very nice healthy bump in damage to whatever sorceress puts it on, because now you've got level 9 fire, lightning, or cold mastery, depending on your build. We also have 23% to maximum life, which is pretty amazing. Now, granted, sorceresses don't really have the highest amount of life, but when you put this staff on, you will notice that we go from 738 to 887, which is a healthy little bump. And, of course, the more life we have, the more that is going to go up. We also have all resistances 20, which is absolutely great because as we're getting into Nightmare difficulty, we are going to have issues with resistances. And so the little bit of extra resistances on this staff is certainly welcome. And then we have the attacker takes lightning damage of 20, which is not even like a thing. I also forgot to mention that the all resistances varies. So it varies between 20 to 40. And the increase to maximum life varies from 20 to 25. So those are the only 2 variables on this particular staff, is the maximum life can vary by 5%, and the resistances can vary by 20. So 20 to 40. So if you do find a 25% increased maximum life, 40 all resistance Chromatic Ire, you have a perfect Chromatic Ire. Of course, 40 all res is definitely a hell of a lot more sexy than 20. And as you're going into Nightmare difficulty, that 40 is going to have a pretty huge effect on your character. The Ethereal version is much the same, just has a little bit more damage bump, and it only requires 15 strength, which is even lower. And you get that nice style points just basically for getting the Ethereal version. Let's take a look at it on the character screen and see how it compares to some of the earlier staves like Spire of Lazarus. And from what I can see here, it's a different shade. So Spire of Lazarus was like a gray color, and this is definitely a gold color instead. Although the orb that's inside the Spire of Lazarus is different. I mean, it's the same color. It's the same color as the one that's inside the spire. As you can see, though, it's made out of maggots. Yeah, maggots. I don't know why they decided to make a staff out of maggots, but it's really disgusting. Now, where can you potentially find yourself a Chromatic Ire if you want to get your hands on one? Well, that's the question, right? Can we find this on level, and can we potentially, actually use this when we need it? Or is this going to be one of those horrible items where it's like you never find it when you need it, and then by the time you find it, you don't need it anymore? And we're going to find out. So let's pop open Silo's pen real quick. And we're going to, level 35, let's 150% magic find is fine. Let's go ahead and do bosses first, and then we're going to look at normal real quick just to see if there's any monsters in normal. So Bale in normal can drop it at 1 in 3,590. Not exactly the best farming spot, but if you were, level 35 or even close to that, and you were just trying to get EXP, Bale runs may be where you're at. So that's actually not a terrible place to do some Bale runs at. And then you could, to do some Bale runs at, to find this staff. It's not a terrible place to find the staff as you're leveling up, if you get lucky. Let's take a look at super uniques in normal. So Frozenstein, Pindle, and Neelathak can all drop it. Pretty terrible drop rates, though. 1 in 167,000, 1 in 168. So let's take a look at Nightmare. Let's do bosses first. So in Nightmare difficulty, Andariel has a pretty decent chance at 1 in 2,039. And Mephisto, 1 in 2,139. Not bad chances, to be honest. And Andariel and Nightmare is a good place to farm for your Sojas anyway, if you're trying to get your hands on them. So you could be farming Andariel. If she drops you a Chromatic Ire, maybe use it. If she drops you some Sojas, maybe use those. Still haven't found a Soj, though. Pretty salty about that, so let's not talk about it. Nightmare Cow King, 1 in 7,738. Bone Ash in Nightmare, 1 in 23,000. Looks like the super uniques have pretty awful probabilities for this particular staff in Nightmare. Not really sure why it's so bad. I mean, 1 in 23,000 is awful. I mean, Bone Ash can be farmed relatively easy and relatively quickly in normal difficulty. I mean, Nightmare difficulty. But it's still a pretty terrible drop rate, and that's like one of the better drop rates. Like, you go up a little bit here, and we've got Radament, Summoner, and then Nightmare Neelathak. Not really a lot of good choices here as far as like good drop rates from lower tier monsters. I wonder if it's just a Nightmare difficulty thing. Does it drop better in Hell? Not really. Yeah, it drops better in Nightmare. It's just really crappy probabilities. I mean, it's interesting. You could potentially get your hands on this at level 35 when you need it. You'd have to get really lucky, of course. And if it doesn't pop up before you hit level 35, or rather level like 50 something, you're probably just going to move on with your life and get something better. But this staff is actually very nice for a sorceress. I mean, having +4 to all the masteries at level 35 is actually pretty amazing. And the all resistances 40 is certainly going to come in handy. I mean, not only that, it also has 20% faster cast and +3 to all your sorceress skills. I mean, Chromatic Ire, I think, is one of the better staffs that's in the game. It just is. There's very few staves that are close to this that have all of the amazing effects and the really nice plus to skills. Like, Razor Switch that we went over earlier has really nice effects on it, but only has +1 to skills. Like Iron Jangbong has +2 to skills, but doesn't really have a lot of good other skills. The Cold Mastery, Lightning Mastery, and Fire Mastery really is a good combination for a low-level sorceress that could potentially be utilizing multiple abilities at this particular time. And, you know, who doesn't like carrying around a staff created out of maggots? I mean, come on. Golden maggots in my hand, golden maggots on the land. Eat a few, they're crunchy, yum, full of protein in my mouth. Maggots here and maggots there, maggots every frickin' where. I'm leaving, I don't want to be here anymore. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my maggot-filled videos. And as always, if you like my maggot-filled videos, be sure to throw some maggots at the screen, because I really enjoy that. Thank you. Bye.